Hag Sameach, everybody, and Shana Tova. Very exciting to be with all of you again in our space, and then, of course, those who are on Zoom or watching through YouTube. We're grateful for you all being here. That was the last Kaddish, actually, we get to say without saying La'ela, La'ela, which is different, with a different liturgy that we have, where we add the word to rise up, to rise up. God is risen up, high, high up, because on these days we believe We imagine that. We believe that God is high up, but yet still very close. So before we begin our actual high holiday services, I wanted to share a story, as is a custom here, to share a story before we begin our Rosh Hashanah celebration. And I want to share a story about a very famous Hasid, probably one of the most famous, Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov. And Rabbi Israel, or the Baal Shem Tov, was really the founder of the Hasidic movement. Back in the 17th century or so. Really the person who was able to help to take us away from the staunch view of Jewish practice as being determined by your observance of Jewish law, and instead saying there is place for the soul, there is a place for the spirit, that joy must come into our observance, that we must be able to sing, we must be able to raise our voices, and that too should be part of our law, if not in a legal book, at least part of our ethic, part of who we are. And he brought great joy to our tradition. So I want to share a story about Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov. And what the Baal Shem Tov, the story I want to share is actually not from the beginning, not from the fullness of his life, but actually from one of his last years, one of his last times in community, when he was quite old and he was to a point in his life where he felt that he wanted to just ascend, in whatever term that means, whatever that means. He just wanted to let go of this world and he wanted to ascend. But yet he had pupils, he had students, he had Talmidim that really still wanted his presence in their midst. They wanted him to lead the high holiday services, the Rosh Hashanah services. So on Rosh Hashanah, he mustered up as much energy as he could. He was weak at this point. His soul really wanted to be elsewhere. And he held on to the podium and he began to daven, and his davening, his prayers became more and more filled with fire, more and more filled with emotion, until a point where his voice really sounded like the old Baal Shem Tov. He sounded like he had energy and vigor and strength. And it got to a point in his energy that his students couldn't even look at him anymore. They had to look away and just close their eyes and listen. And when he finished his prayers, he got to a place where he was going to deliver that year's Rosh Hashanah sermon. And again, his students had trouble staring at him because of his countenance. It was so filled with light and vigor. And so they instead closed their eyes and they listened. And he shared a story. He shared this story. He talked about a man walking on a journey, and this journey was over a ridge. On one side of the ridge was a mighty ocean of red as the blood. And on the other side of the ridge was darkness, an ocean of darkness. And this person walked as if a blind person, swaying back and forth, unsure of their step. And they seemed to be out of breath. They seemed to be struggling with every step as they made their way through. And soon, when they were coming close to the end of this ridge, it turned out that the ridge was just a big circle. And this person was just walking this ridge in this long, long circle. And when the person almost got to the end, which of course was the beginning, this man, still wobbly on his feet, started to have hands come out of the redness and the darkness, reaching and grasping for him, as if to pull him down. And the Baal Shem Tov watched this with great concern and great worry, tried to take a deep breath in to give a call out, but his tongue was heavy as a stone, this story tells us, and couldn't muster his own energy to speak out, to warn the man, because of course the man couldn't see. The man had no concept of what was out there to pull him down before he got to the very end. And finally, the Baal Shem Tov was able to get enough strength that an angel came down, the story tells us, and kissed him and touched him right on the lips. And the Baal Shem Tov's mouth opened up as if like a sound of a shofar blasting out. And he screamed out to the man, he said, "Raise up your wings and fly." And as he shouted these words, in fact, the man's wings came out, and he flew and he took flight. and he was free of all the hands, all that was trying to grasp him to pull him in to the depth of the red or the depth of the darkness. And the Baal Shem Tov shared, at the end of his sermon, shared that is in fact life. And what Rosh Hashanah is, with the blast of the shofar, with the sounds we make, with the singing, the raising up of our voice, is in fact our call to each other after a long journey where so many things from the ocean of red or the ocean of darkness tries to pull us down. These holidays come with the opportunity that somebody sitting next to us, somebody that we love, somebody that we might have struggled with that year, could call out to us and encourage us to take flight. And that's what the power is on these holidays, that we could have the courage to call out to the people around us, the people that we might not have talked to recently, the people that we talk to often, and know that they're struggling, but yet our tongue is weighed down like a rock. And instead, we have this opportunity together as a community to call out, to open up our mouth. And the angel will come down and touch our lips as well, and we will be able to call out those words, Shana Tova, Shana Tova Umetuka. May this year be sweet. We could reach out to the people who we know need our attention, need our care and our love. We could reach out to the people as we approach Yom Kippur, those that we desperately do need to call, and tell them that we still love them no matter what this year, no matter how many hands were pulling us down in our relationship, that we still care and we still love, and that they too, we too, could take flight together. So my friends, as we begin this holiday, I wish us all the strength to keep on walking forward, even with all the hands that come to pull us down into whatever side of the ridge they want us to be pulled into. And I hope that our loved ones around us, and even our not-so-loved ones, will have the courage to take the rocks out of their mouth and yell out like a shofar, yell out with a large and mighty blast, that we could all take flight together. Shana Tova Umetuka, my friends. May it be a sweet and precious new year.